So I was looking at the trajectory for training these frontier models, and honestly, the economics are getting terrifying.
Oh, they really are.
Right, because since 2016, the cost to train has grown by roughly 2.4 times per year.
Which means we are barreling toward a reality where a single training run could easily hit $1 billion by 2027.
$1 billion
Yeah.
just for one run. And I think that really frames the mission of this deep dive for you listening. We aren't just talking about code or architecture anymore.
No, we are watching a massive battle against physical resource limits, money and energy, and data.
Exactly. It feels like the playbook has completely shifted because for years the logic was just make the brain bigger.
Yeah, throw more parameters at the model and it inherently gets smarter.
But looking at the chinchilla paper, that was actually incredibly inefficient, wasn't it?
Completely inefficient. We found out that most of those massive models were significantly undertrained. They had huge brains, but they hadn't read enough books.
So the chinchilla findings gave us a specific golden ratio to fix that.
Right, it's the 20-to-1 rule. For every single parameter in the model, you need roughly 20 training tokens.
Meaning if you double the model size, you have to double the data.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that creates a new crisis almost immediately. Because if you need that much data to be compute optimal, you eventually run out of the internet.
Right. There literally isn't enough high-quality human text left to sustain that growth.
Which is where everyone started pivoting to synthetic data.
Just let the AI write its own training material.
Right. But that backfired with model collapse.
It's the drinking your own Kool-Aid problem.
It is.
Yeah.
If you train a model purely on synthetic textbook-style data generated by other AIs, the performance degrades. The model actually loses the nuance and variance of human language.
However, the recent research shows there is a sweet spot.
Hmm.
It's kind of like a diet. You can't live on protein powder alone.
Which would be the pure synthetic data.
Exactly. But if you mix it with real food, it works beautifully.
That is the perfect way to view it. The data suggests a mix of about 1/3 rephrased synthetic data to 2/3 natural web text.
And that blend can actually speed up training by 5 to 10 times without the degradation.
Because it essentially concentrates the knowledge.
So we have a recipe for the pre-training. We get the ratio right, we mix the data carefully. But a raw pre-trained model is basically a wild animal.
Well, yeah, it just predicts the next word. It doesn't know how to be safe or helpful.
Right, like if you ask a raw model, can I wash my teddy bear?
It looks at its training data and just predicts the most likely next words. So it says in the washing machine.
Which results in a very clean, very destroyed teddy bear.
Precisely. So we use supervised fine-tuning, or SFT, to teach it to follow instructions.
But the bottleneck there is humans. You need armies of people to label data and rate responses.
And that just doesn't scale to the size of models we're building now.
Which is why constitutional AI feels like such a massive breakthrough. You're essentially automating the conscience of the model.
Yes. Instead of humans rating every output, you give the AI a constitution, just a set of natural language rules.
And then the model critiques its own outputs based on those rules.
Exactly. It's scaling supervision by letting the AI grade its own homework, but strictly according to the rubric we gave it.
So that handles the safety side. But we still have to pay the bill. Even if you aren't training from scratch, fine-tuning a 175 billion parameter model is prohibitively expensive for anyone without a massive data center.
Well, unless you use LoRA, this is probably the most important efficiency unlock we've seen.
I love the mechanics of this. It's basically the post-it note method of deep learning.
That is the absolute best analogy for it. In traditional fine-tuning, you rewrite the whole textbook. You update every single weight.
But with LoRA low-rank adaptation, you freeze the massive pre-trained weights. You don't touch them at all.
Right. Then you inject these tiny matrices, your post-it notes, and you only train those.
The math is wild. You reduce trainable parameters by 10,000 times.
And drop GPU memory requirements by 3 times. Suddenly you can fine-tune a frontier-level model on consumer hardware.
It democratizes the process significantly. But even with efficient tuning, we loop back to that initial billion-dollar training run.
The big one.
Right. The hardware cost is obviously the biggest chunk, somewhere around 47 to 67%. But I was surprised by the R&D staff costs and the energy stats.
Staff is massive, taking up 29 to 49%. But energy is counterintuitive. It's a small slice of the actual financial cost, maybe 2 to 6%.
But it is the hardest infrastructure bottleneck.
Absolutely. We are talking about needing gigawatt-scale power by 2029. You can wire $1 billion to NVIDIA,
But you can't just wire money to the grid and make a new power plant appear overnight.
No, you cannot. That's the real constraint.
And it leaves us with a really heavy question for you to think about. If the table stakes are $1 billion and your own private power plant, does innovation inevitably centralize into just the 2 or 3 companies that can afford the electric bill?
It's the single biggest risk to the field right now.
It's definitely something to chew on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.